Solo travel is one of the most empowering things I have ever done in my life, and I want to tell you about 5 reasons why you need to be solo traveling in your future. Now, currently this is such a weird time to be talking about solo travel or travel at all because we are currently in a worldwide pandemic. So if you're watching this video later when travel is actually a possibility, hello, I'm glad to see we made it on the other side. But if you're watching it currently in this situation, don't worry, it's okay to dream about solo travel in the future, and maybe this is just a perfect time to plan. I want to tell you about 5 reasons why I think that solo travel is such a great thing for everyone to do at least once in their life, and why. So number one of the first things when it comes to solo travel that is absolutely amazing is efficiency. So efficiency wise, you are only going to need to take care of yourself, right? When you have to go to the bathroom, you find one. When you're hungry, you pick something up. But if you're traveling with other people, sometimes things can take a lot longer than anticipated earlier. As well, just the efficiency of knowing, like, if you have 4 days off and you want to jet somewhere and go explore a city for 48 hours, 72 hours, whatever it may be, then you can just do that in your calendar. Efficiency wise, you're not going to be waiting for someone else to book that in your calendar, and as well, you're not going to be looking into what they want to do. So number 2, one of the best things about traveling by yourself is getting to do what you want to do. This was quite possibly one of the coolest things that I found and one of the biggest growth experiences for me too. If you are like me, you are a go with the flow person. When I first did a solo travel trip, I basically chose to go from Canada, which is my homeland, and went all the way to Australia to backpack the East Coast. I flew into Sydney, I met up with my friend Russell who lives in Brisbane. He helped me get my bearings, and then he flew back to Brisbane. I did Sydney, flew up to Cairns, and then worked my way back down to Brisbane. So one of the things that I found the hardest and the most amazing to learn was choosing what I wanted to do versus going with the flow. So I would wake up in the morning and it would take me so long at the beginning of my trip just laying in my hostel bed being like, what do I want to do today? Why can't someone tell me what to do? Just to make the decision. And it can be so weird. Like, you could be sitting on a beach enjoying the water and just simply making the decision, okay, we're gonna pack up now and we're gonna go and try to find a coffee shop. Like, just something that simple. And I found that that translated so easily back into my normal life. Like, even now, I try to tell myself that even normal life is a solo travel trip, despite that I live with a partner and I love Scott so much. But at the end of the day, what if he's working and I have the day off? That's a solo day. I gotta decide what I want to do quickly so that I can amplify and make use of that day. Deciding what you want to do as well on a solo trip is really cool, because what if you are someone who's like, I want to hit that museum. I really want to go to the museum and just look at everything and take in the culture and take in the art. But you're with someone who's like, that is not what I want to do at all. You're gonna be in this museum, hopefully, because maybe you both made the decision to go, and you're going to be looking at your clock, not going to be able to be as present. Now, the curve of this is hopefully you're traveling with someone who does really like doing what you like as well. But if you solo travel, that totally negates that from being an issue or a conversation. Another side of solo travel when it comes to choosing what you want to do is sometimes you're going to do things that you never even expected. When I was on this trip to Australia, I ended up going when I was up in the north of the country in Cairns. I basically went to one of the travel guide trip planners, and I was sitting in the chair and I knew I wanted to do a scuba of the Great Barrier Reef. I mean, like, come on, of course you got to do that, and a snorkel as well. But then they said, would you be interested in doing a bungee? Oh my gosh, I just said that so weird. Would you be interested in doing a bungee? And I was like, I don't know. AJ Hackett is a really big bungee company up there. Oh, I just dropped that pen. And I ended up saying yes. Why not? But I didn't have to rely on the emotions of someone else being like, ooh, I am not an adrenaline junkie. I found out I really am. So I said yes, and I ended up going and doing this bungee. So just being able to decide what you want to do is so amazing and really, really freaking awesome. Number 3 is sometimes you're actually going to end up saving money. One, you can find when the cheapest flight is from wherever to wherever because you're the only one that you have to rely on your schedule. So that kind of curves back to efficiency and saving money. And two, when it comes to meals and shopping and things like that, I definitely eat less and drink less when I'm on my own. There is a magic in just waking up, having a full breakfast, going out and getting after it during the day, packing some snacks and then coming back and having a dinner. And that's usually kind of the routine that I follow when I travel alone. I won't be sitting down having a long lunch or a long dinner, and that as well can be so much quicker, kind of bringing efficiency back into saving money on this note as well, is that if I'm having a meal, I can be like, okay, yeah, I'm just gonna grab this to go and just keep on going. Or I'm just gonna sit and enjoy and like read or people watch or talk to the person next to me. And I don't need to feel weird about the timing of all this, whether I'm wasting time, because the fact is that when you're traveling alone, all of those experiences are wrapped up in your trip. You obviously don't want to stay in your hostel the whole time. That's not traveling alone. That is just being fearful of what lies beyond the front door. But taking those small moments by yourself can be really, really empowering. One of the things I found when I was as well traveling alone is this is number 4. You're going to end up talking to people more. You're going to end up talking to locals more. You're going to end up talking to fellow people on trips more. When I did a little catamaran tour, it was 4 days, 3 nights living on this boat, and I ended up meeting these amazing women from the UK, and we ended up getting on really well, and we're still friends on social media. But if I had a friend there, maybe I wouldn't have chatted as much with other people. Now that makes more sense that I probably would have, because I would have just been like, hey, let's all be friends on this trip, obviously. But in a more minute scenario, when I was at one of my hostels in Airlie Beach, I ended up meeting this amazing woman from Spain, and we chatted for so long this one morning over coffee. And then she ended up leaving because her trip was still carrying on and I was staying there. And there was something so magical and so... I think magical actually is the most amazing word for it. But we were sitting there having coffee, we were talking about life, we were talking about travel, we were talking about things in our life and experiences, and then she was gone. And it was kind of neat just to be like, I hope you have a great life. And I definitely would not have had that conversation, that human connection, that moment with that woman if I was with someone else, because I would have just gone to a breakfast with them and chatted and made our own memories there, which would have been great as well. But in the cosmic reality of making connections with as many humans as possible on this earth, I definitely wouldn't have had that one. So that was really cool. And number 5, one of the most amazing and thrilling things about traveling on your own and taking a solo adventure, and why I think it's so important for personal growth, and it certainly was for me, is that it is freaking empowering, you guys. Like, problem solving, troubleshooting, making decisions. The empowering note of traveling alone is every single moment of every single day. There were definitely moments where I got homesick, I'm not gonna lie. But it was like, no, I'm here now. We're living now. And when I go home, everything's gonna be the same. But I'm gonna be different because I'm gonna be more empowered in my life. I remember on my last day of traveling in through Australia, I was back in Sydney. So I had done Brisbane and I had flown down to Sydney, and I was actually flying standby. So when you fly standby, if there's a seat free, you get the seat. If it's not free, you gotta wait till the next flight. The flights back from Sydney to Vancouver, there was one a day. At this time anyways, there was only one a day. And the benefits of flying standby are it is so much cheaper. And because I was flying on my own, I had the flexibility of having that schedule. So I was like, well, I might as well just fly standby and get a cheaper flight home. And so I ended up not getting on the first flight. They didn't call my name for a ticket. It was absolutely full. There were no seats available. I had a freaking pity party, you guys. Like, my boyfriend at the time bought me a hotel stay that night very close to the airport. I did not venture outside. I had been staying at hostels. I was like so thrilled to see multiple pillows on my bed. But the next day, I ended up seeing myself that first day as a girl who just had thought her trip was done and she was just gonna go home. She was entitled to get that trip to go home and she didn't need a plan. Now, Amanda the next day was like, okay, this has already happened to me. There is a pretty good possibility that I'm not gonna get on this flight either, because I called my dad. He's a pilot, so he was tracking the flight for me. And he said, yeah, you know what, this one's pretty full too. You might not get on. So I was thinking, there's no way I'm gonna have the same day as yesterday. I am in Sydney, Australia. I need to get back out there. There are worse places you could be in the world. So I end up not getting on that flight either. So another whole day swiped by this plane. And so I end up training down to central Sydney. I found a hostel there. It was called Wake Up. It's really awesome. It's still there. And I ended up making my plan that day to go down, just to walk all the way from the central region where that hostel is down towards the harbor to go see the Opera House once again. And my plan that whole day was simply to take pictures of people who were trying to selfie with the Opera House. I was like, I'm gonna help these people get their best tourist photos because I know how to take a good photo. And it was the best. It was so much fun. And I wouldn't have been able to have the flexibility of just making that decision if I was with someone else. We maybe would have had to figure something out a little bit differently. And I ended up journaling a lot during that trip, and that day I journaled a ton because I was thinking about the cosmic journey of traveling alone and what I had learned and taking that extra time to reflect. Now the next day, I had talked to the person at the front desk at the hostel, and they knew my situation because I said, hey, if I don't get on this next flight, do I have a place to stay tonight? Do you guys have a room for me? And they're like, yep, for sure, we got a room for you. And we had the cutest exchange. I was like, hey, I hope I see you never. And he said, I hope I see you never, because that means that I would have been able to get on that flight. And I did. And I honestly think that was the universe just being like, you learned so much from this travel adventure, you empowered yourself so much, that there's still a couple of more lessons to learn, and we want you to leave this feeling like you can be prepared, you can troubleshoot, you can make a plan, and you can make the most out of any tough situation. And then that next day I got on the plane and I made it. So solo adventure can be a mix of things for many different people, but what it is 100%, even more than efficiency and doing what you want to do and saving money and doing all these things, is it's empowering beyond belief. And I really hope that once everything opens up again, or if it's open right now and you're watching, you have now made the decision that it's time to take a solo adventure and just give it a try. Quick note, it would mean so much to me if you subscribed and hit that bell, because it honestly just helps me continue to do what I love to do, which is make videos. I love you guys so much, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye!